Hi there, thanks for stopping by. This is a follow-up video to the first glitches video I uploaded a few weeks ago, so if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend checking it out first, since this video will build on that one. Well then, let's start breaking the game in even more ways. The reason why I'm making this video is mainly because of the latest glitch that has been discovered, memory storage. It allows you to store an inventory and load it later, even to another save file. This enables us to perform the New Game Plus glitch. It allows you to do the two most wanted things in the Breath of the Wild community, keeping the Bow of Light and to get the paraglider before even leaving the plateau, therefore skipping the entire tutorial section. So, how would something like this even work? Before you can start with the glitch, you will need a couple of things on the save file you want to have the New Game Plus save file on. The Travel Medallion, and yes, you will need the DLC for this glitch. The upgraded Sheikah sensor, at least one, but if possible 2 Hyrule Compendium entries, one memory, preferably the Subdued Ceremony one, but more on that later, and one side quest. When you are ready to perform the glitch, you will also need to have a lit campfire nearby, have the Travel Medallion selected in your inventory, have a side quest selected where if you go to the right you land on an active memory, which is also why I recommend the Subdued Ceremony one, since it is the first one in the list. Once you prepared all of this, we can start. Go to the Hyrule Compendium, hover over an active entry and press Y to search for it. 1 or 2 frames later, press plus to get to your inventory with the medallion selected. If the text "searching for" and then the item you selected is still there, overlapping with the inventory, it worked. Quickly place down the Travel Medallion and open up the compendium again by pressing minus before the text disappears again. If you can still see the searching text when you are back at the compendium, you know that the first part worked and you can relax for a second. Now for the second and much more precise part. Hover over the quest marker of the side quest you selected earlier. Press Y to open the search menu and select Shrines as your search target. Now you will need to be quick. Press A to confirm the selection and instantly press A again to select the marker. Tap A third time and wait for 5 frames so that you can barely see your inventory. During the next roughly 5 frames that the inventory is visible, press right on the D-pad and right afterwards A. More on that timing later. If you did it correctly, you should now have the watch memory prompt on your screen. But why is that? Because by selecting the side quest, you opened the adventure log, and by using D-pad right and A, you selected the memory and opened the prompt that asks you if you want to watch it. Since it wasn't you who closed the inventory, but the stored medallion placement from before, the game doesn't close the pop-up. Let's take a closer look at the timing. I've created a chart that shows what time frames you have to press certain buttons. It's based on my research, and if you find any error, make sure to let me know and I will link a fixed version in the description. At the top is the A press that opens the inventory. The first frame where the inventory is visible, you cannot make any inputs yet, so 5 frames after the first A press is the time window where you need to make your inputs. You have the first 4 frames to make the D-pad right input. After pressing D-pad right, you need to press A. Make sure that the A press happens in the last 3 frames of where the inventory is visible. Why? Because if you make the input too early, the prompt already appears on the inventory and gets closed 1 frame after the inventory closes, because the inventory tries to close all pop-ups with it. So this is the timing you need. If your timing is off, there are tricks to find out if you were too early or too late. If you see the prompt on your screen for around 1 frame, then, just as I said, you were too early with your inputs. If you cannot see the pop-up, check your adventure log. If the side quest is still selected, then none of your inputs were detected. You were either too slow or too fast in this case. If the side quest is not selected anymore, your A press was registered but not the D-pad right. If the side quest is selected, only the D-pad right has been detected. Here's the glitch in real time. Now that we've stored our memory, on to the next part. Do not use the D-pad from now on while you are in-game, or the storage will end since you open up a menu. Go to the lit cooking pot and press plus to open your inventory. Press R to switch to the System tab. Select Load and select any save file you want. Now you need to be really quick. Instantly after loading the file, use D-pad up twice and press A to finally watch the memory before the prompt disappears. You have roughly 10 frames for this, so you really want to be fast here. After loading the save, do not open any inventory or container. All you need to do is to die. From the death screen, load the main menu and start a new game. Once you are in the Shrine of Resurrection, you will know if you did everything right. If the game creates an autosave, you messed something up and you will need to reload the save before you started a new save file to try it again. If no autosave happens, it means you did it. Now, you're probably thinking that the hard part is over, but no, the hard part begins just now. You will have to play through the entire game and beat Ganon without ever dying or saving. I know this seems pretty difficult, but I'll have some tips later on. So what exactly do you have to do? Complete the plateau to get the paraglider, of course, first. After that, get a Divine Beast memory, probably Revali's since it is the easiest to get. Now is also the point to collect everything you want to carry over to your New Game Plus save file later. But be careful, do not die or try to save, as I already said. Fix the Sheikah slate, take a photo, view a memory via the menu. If you do any of these, you cancel the glitch and you will have to restart. To make it easier later, you can also collect this ancient arrow at Hyrule Castle and defeat the Lionel in the second gatehouse to get a total of 3 ancient arrows. More on those later. If you want to make sure that you really don't die on accident, you can always pick up fairies. They saved my life more than once. And oh yes, don't forget that you can also collect plenty of hearty food, especially around Satori Mountain and the Faron region. I took the time and completed all of the Divine Beasts, but as I just said, you don't need to. When you're ready, head to Hyrule Castle and defeat Phase 1 Ganon as usual. You will be spawned on Hyrule Field to fight Dark Beast Ganon.
But courage need not be remembered, for it is never forgotten.
Drop your bows until you only have a maximum of 4 left. This is necessary because the overlapping slots will be overwritten later when your inventory shrinks back to the base size of 5 slots, and the Bow of Light might not carry over that way. During the fight, watch any of the memories you got. Get his health down just as usual from there on until you arrive at the final hit. If you collected the ancient arrows before, switch now to another bow and use them as the final blow. If not, or if you missed all of the arrows, shoot with the Bow of Light, but instantly after releasing the trigger, switch to another bow before the arrow hits Ganon's eye. Now watch or skip the ending. When you are at the main menu, load the latest save. You should now get a new save file with the opening cutscene.
Open your eyes.
Wait for the autosave to happen and reload that autosave. Now you're good to go. Since the game thinks you never obtained any of the equipment, you will get all of the action hints. Collect the Sheikah slate, and from there on you can play the game as you want with no more restrictions. meaning you can save and die as you want. To recap, here's a short summary of the most important things. I clipped out of the shrine so that it keeps being 5:15 am, but you don't have to do this. Let's have a look at the consequences of what we just did. Since we already have the paraglider, there's no need to raise the towers or do the shrines on the plateau, since the check whether you are allowed to leave the plateau is based on the paraglider. Skipping the plateau has a few consequences. The shrines are all inactive, meaning you will have to clip into them, and they also won't be registered as teleport destinations. Also, the towers will simply not be there, leaving their decoration floating around them. But the most important part is we have the Bow of Light, a bow with infinite durability that deals 100 damage per hit and the arrows fly in a straight line. This allows for some really cool things, such as the ones I will show here. I'm also not entirely sure why Paya transformed into an entire house. When I finally decided to raise the towers, the old man got a bit confused and kept respawning at the top of the tower and falling down. Oh yeah, and did you know that there is an invisible barrier around the tower that prevents players from going too far away? And since the old man spawned on top of the tower already, he was unable to load on the ground. When I arrived at the first plateau shrine, he acted as if I already completed it. When he then showed me the tower on my map, he instead showed me a random shrine I got earlier. The old man also seems to appear after completing a total of 4 shrines, and not the 4 shrines on the plateau, since he already revealed the final part after completing the second shrine on the plateau, having 4 shrines in total. Oh yeah, here's what happens if you activate an already completed shrine. And yes, using memory storage, it is possible to have both Hylian shields, the one with durability up and the one with protection up, but I really didn't have the patience to try that one out. And that's it for the memory storage. It took quite some time to complete all of these tasks, so respects to anyone who dares to do the same. But now on to some other glitches. Last time we had a glitch named horse wrong warping. We were able to trick the game into thinking we wanted to warp somewhere else, leading to the surrounding area not loading. We accomplished this with apparatus storage, but it turns out that there is a way easier way to do this: Korok pond storage. Just as last time, go to the location you want to wrong warp to and save while sitting on your horse. Then warp to any pond Korok. Jump down into the water, but in the frame where you touch it, load the save on your horse. From there on, continue as usual, warp anywhere far away, and you should respawn behind the horse with the environment not loaded. You can again use this to get the Master Sword early. Oh, and talking of the Master Sword, you can skip the Korok Forest by using a Wind Bomb. You're basically too fast for the fog to catch you. Let's get to something new then. B-Lock is a mostly useless glitch, but looks pretty cool. Hold your bow while having a shield equipped and press B to put your bow away. In the animation of putting it away, open your inventory and unequip the shield. Now you will be unable to use the B button, which is why it's called B-Lock. If you press B, the arrow will disappear for a split second. Let's get to the fun stuff you can do with it. Hold down B, walk in any direction, and jump. Now you will be frozen in place. You can also moonwalk by holding down ZL and B and releasing ZL. Your walking direction will be stuck in the direction you walked when holding ZL. While holding ZL again, you can adjust your angle without changing your facing direction, so that you can walk backwards and sidewards. Now hold down ZL and B again. Jump and release ZL while in the air. You should now be able to slide through Hyrule. This is kind of useful since you don't slow down while sliding over sand or snow, and it doesn't make any noise, so you can simply slide by monsters as long as they don't see you. Daruk's Enforced Flurry Rush is a combat technique that uses the fact that when parrying an attack with Daruk's protection, there's a short moment of bullet time. So, if you block an attack while side or back hopping and press Y while the short bullet time is active, you can trigger a Flurry Rush. The easiest is to simply use a bomb and to detonate it at the same time as you spam Y. This allows you to get a Flurry Rush anywhere you want, even on enemies that didn't even attack you or aren't even Flurry Rushable. You can stand on both your horse and your Master Cycle Zero. Since both of them require different setups, let's start with the horse. You will need a save file where you never collected an arrow for this. Once you have this, we will need to smuggle an item into your hands. You can find a description on how to do this in the first video, but I will briefly describe it here. Stand inside of a pond facing outside. Hold an item, jump, and place a bomb while jumping. Detonate the bomb and pause on the third frame of the explosion, where the explosion looks like this. Now warp anywhere. This is how you can smuggle an item into your hands. On the other video I go more into the uses of this glitch, but let's get back to standing on the horse. Grab a wooden shield and block an arrow from an enemy using it. Go to your horse without putting the shield away and press A to mount it. This will also bring up the pop-up that shows you the arrow. Press plus on it to open your inventory and add another item to the invisible item you are already holding. Press plus to close the inventory, open it up again, and put all of the items back using X. Now you can click the pop-up away and you will be standing on your horse. You can't ride it sadly, but you can do most things you can do on the ground. Now to the Master Cycle. Again, smuggle an item into your hands. You will have to beat Ganon Phase 1 to arrive on Hyrule Field. Right after you gain control over Link, dismount your horse and get on your Master Cycle Zero. Now drive onto your Bow of Light. Again, there will be another prompt on the screen that allows you to open your inventory. Do the same as before. Hold another item, close and open your inventory, and put them both away using X. You can now drive around Ganon.
I will hold the malice back as much as I can, but my powers...
most of the next glitches will either be extensions of the ones from last video, or rather small but fun or useful ones nonetheless. Throw sprinting is an alternative to whistle sprinting. It's a bit harder to pull off, but doesn't cause any noise like whistle sprinting. Tap B and R and release them right afterwards. Repeat this in quick succession to reach almost sprinting speed. This works with any type of weapon. Last time we already smuggled weapons, but you can do the same with bows. Place a bomb in front of you and hold your bow. Make sure to have a shield equipped. Press B to put the bow away, but in the animation of putting it away, unequip the shield. Now pick up the bomb and throw it away. You now have a bow smuggled, meaning you can do anything you want, even sprinting, climbing or paragliding. You can also smuggle a sword into your hands at the same time, and it will look as if you were shooting the sword. Here's something you can do with it. If you are on Death Mountain, you can select bomb arrows, and since the game doesn't consider your bow to be pulled out, it doesn't put it away after the explosion. This way you can gain a little bit of height every time you get blown up. If you are really desperate and want to gain height and you don't mind wasting 100 bomb arrows, this is the way to go. There is another way to achieve this. First, perform apparatus storage. You can check out the first video for more infos, but again, I'll describe it here as well. Go to any apparatus shrine, save outside, go into the shrine and wait for an autosave to happen. Go to the apparatus, hold R and with the camera rune selected, press the left stick and L at the same time. Press A to take a picture and delete it. Immediately pause the game and load the save inside of the shrine. Repeat everything you just did, but load the save from outside of the shrine. If you now fall into lava and drown, the elemental property is saved and the game will now treat us as if we were on fire the whole time. This is called fire storage. It means that wooden weapons start burning and bomb arrows explode. I told you there was another way to achieve this. The same works with drowning in water, which is called wetness storage, but since we already have elemental immunity, we can't really see the effects of it. Another effect of apparatus storage is that you are invincible to attacks while you are still in the shrine. This sadly cannot be transferred out of the shrine. You can try this at the Kam Yatak shrine. Let's go back to the Great Plateau Tower once more. If you haven't activated it yet, you can stand close to it and enemies will ignore you. This is most likely an intended behavior, but I found it interesting nonetheless. If you activate the tower, you might remember from earlier that there is an invisible boundary around it that prevents players from getting too far away. If you run and jump off the plateau and fall damage cancel out of it, you can get stuck like this for some reason. I think this is because the game tries to push you back into the boundaries, but cannot since you landed on a slope, but as I said, I'm not entirely sure. Attacking will get you out of this state. There are a few more things you can do with runes. You can reset a rune timer by watching a memory. This allows you to chain multiple rune uses back to back without any in-game time passing. There is also the rune cancelling glitch that allows you to drop items right below you. Simply start Magnesis, but right after activating it, open your inventory and hold items. You don't even need to aim at a metallic object. It could be useful in a couple of cases, but is rather difficult to put to a good use. Magnesis also has another glitch, Infinite Magnesis. Go as far away as possible from the metallic object and start using magnesis on it. Quickly rotate your camera around by rotating your controller so that the object is no longer visible on screen. If you were fast enough, you should now be able to walk away from it as far as you want without the magnesis stopping. Sadly, none of your inputs concerning the magnesis will be registered, so the object will simply stay where it was before. As soon as you rotate your camera back towards it, the glitch will stop. Yet another thing you can do with magnesis is to stand on a buried metallic chest and use magnesis on it. You will be launched into the sky and you can get bullet time or do other things. The occasions where you will be able to use this are slim, but it can also be simply fun to do it. Just a few days ago, a rather small new glitch was discovered. If you hold items next to a cooking pot and use magnesis, wait for a few frames and then press A to cook the items, the cooking animation will play but without any items in the pot. The result will also appear way too early. Sadly, this has no practical use since even when you skip the cooking, there is no time save and the materials will still be used. If you go to this location in Lurelin Village, you can sneak under the construction and use your scope to get under the water. Aside from looking really cool, this has no practical use. There's another horse-related glitch that I didn't cover last time, the permanent active hitbox glitch. This of course relates to the duration of the hitbox being infinite, which is why it is also called infinite hitbox. While on your horse, swing the weapon you are holding, and while the swinging animation is active, hold down X, press B and release X. Now anything you touch with the weapon will act as if you attacked it. Depending on what weapon type you use, the hitbox will be different. It looks especially cool with the elemental weapons. Speaking of elemental weapons, a small thing you can do with elemental ignition is to place an ignited fire blade and an ignited electrical blade next to some choo-choo jellies. This will create a so-called ignition mix trap. The jellies will continuously change from electric to fire, causing both types of damage to any enemy that walks over it. To set up an ignited blade, simply unequip it during the swing animation. Slowly approaching the end of the video, I wanted to show what happens if you let Link fall for around 3 hours into the void. The longer Link falls, the glitchier the visuals become, since they can't handle such big numbers. And that should already be it for the video. I wanted to say thank you to all of the new people who found my channel through the first video. If you took a look at my channel, you quickly found out that I usually produce rather random content. This is because my channel was always kind of the place where I shared what I am interested into right now. And at the moment that is glitches in Breath of the Wild, but it could potentially change at any time. So if you have any idea of what I could do next, please let me know in the comments. Other than that, thank you for sticking through to the end with me once more, and if you got any more questions, feel free to ask them. I'll try to respond as quickly as possible. So that's it, see you next time.